All right, who's ready to die tonight?
I don't think anyone's ready to die.
See, it was a trick question. We're all already dead. So, who's ready to die a second time?
We're only mostly dead.
Well, like I said, I already made my backup character just in case.
See, that's what the other character for Dawn was originally going to be. And then I'm like, I actually want to play this now. And so I did.
Yeah, I have more concepts than games. It's starting to get annoying.
But we will always have St. Louis. I always tell you guys thank you because I really do mean it, and I really do appreciate the opportunity that you guys have provided me and everything that's come from me diving back into the tabletop world. And from, even though it is just virtually via Discord and certain hangouts, it still had been a formative portion of my early life and early adulthood. So this is nostalgia, this is escape, this is a lot, and it's all because of what we've managed to do, learn, explore, and enjoy here. And for that, I am extraordinarily thankful and extraordinarily appreciative. With me opening that, and with us being just a few minutes past our hard start, I'd like to offer this opportunity for you guys to ask any questions. If you have any suggestions, any hypotheses, or any corners we'd like to round off. And if not, then I'd like to say this is officially the start of Soup City Sins, Season 11, Episode 2. You would not be. Now,
I have suggestion. Please. I put to a vote that we should retcon the last half of the whole last episode. How about that? Can we do that?
Talking about we live with our mistakes. We fucked up, we know we did, but you know what? We're living with it.
Fine.
well,
I'm sure it'll be fine. Let's see how it works out.
fate has spoken. The gong has been rung. The wheel of time, which has existed for us, frozen as it were, with Dizzy, riddled, and set back, not broken, with Vivi, riddled, and their life's blood mingling with the very nice, classy swirl of the marble beneath them, with Hestia careening around the building, her foot locked in place, riddled though the van and she is with bullet and various other sundry shrapnel. Lucio and Melinda making their way towards downtown Arlington Heights. Melinda soaked from stem to stern. The drives she managed to save by ensconcing them in her person. And Lucio, invisible to all but a random stray thought. So we open in reverse alphabetical order. Melinda moves a pace of you, unknowing that Lucio hounds her steps, the specter and shadow of potential death, invisible to everyone's notice save his own. And the truth of the matter is, there's certain things that just don't feel right. There's certain victories, certain moments that we've come across that have traipsed into our path, certain thoughts that trouble and nettle us, allowing us no rest. And in the escape, there is a spark of victory. There is a brief glimmer of, haha, I've made it away. And as that thought dances just at the edge of his conscience, it's the very idea that I've made it away. Not we, not us, not the shelter, not the coterie. I've made it away. And it echoes and reverberates, bouncing off the insides of his head as he notices the corporate park is lit up like a 4th of July evening. Roman candles and sky streamers and the ballista and the Chinese dragons all going off. The tinny metallic sound of bullets ricocheting, the sound of bullets tearing through sheet metal, the sound of war mingling with the thought of I've made it away.
Lucio looks around him and realizes he and Melinda were the only ones that made it out, even though they were all supposed to make it out together. And clearly, since he doesn't see them, that means they're either not on the same page or they're still stuck back there. Out of an abundance of concern and paranoia, he's going to start walking back because he's got a bad feeling something isn't right. This whole situation isn't right. They should all be together now, and they're not. So before he leaves, he quick whispers to Melinda that he's gonna head back and check out what's going on.
You're not sure if your voice carried over the sound of gunfire in the rear behind you in the corporate park. You're not sure if Melinda actually heard your voice over the chattering of their own teeth. You're not sure exactly how much was communicated in that moment, but you are sure that you need to be elsewhere. So leaving Melinda to make their way wherever they were making their way, not pausing long enough to see whether they've actually understood the relayed information, Lucio begins making his way back to the corporate park. He arrives at the edge of the property that he had just escaped to see the green and blue Harris-Varo shelter van careen around the edge of the building and begin disappearing around the back. Even from the distance where he stands, he realizes that the sheet metal and the body wrap that had been like a new toy when it was first displayed to the staff and members of the shelter, a vehicle that their name is emblazoned upon. It was as if they managed to reach a new echelon in the world. Not that many of the staff, not that many of the denizens that live there at the shelter would ever have the opportunity of driving the vehicle, but being recognized as an entity and part of something meant more than you can actually put words into. It was, for many, the first time that they belonged to something that had a near physical property to it. It's the first time that they were able to say, that's my team. I belong here. They belong to the world. Therefore, I belong in the world. There's a reason to keep moving forward. For many, seeing the vans, the fleet of vans at their disposal to help them get to jobs, to get to interviews, to help them get to the hospital in many cases, was heartbreakingly powerful. To be seen and to have value. And this is the second van in as little as 2 months that has been destroyed in the exploits of the shelter. Behind the wheel of the van, you can see, instead of Hestia's body bouncing, jerking, and being slammed to and fro from the bullets fired into it, Hestia is stock still. Hestia is a crash test dummy. Hestia is a stone statue as the van careens, and instead of slowing with the damage received, the throttle is all the way open, the gas pedal is all the way down, and the speed is only reduced because some of the tires have blown, the hubcaps have come flying off, and yet the van has refused to stop moving.
Okay, so just so I understand the situation, they're still shooting at the van as it's going into the lake?
Yeah, so 2 guards that have been patrolling the rear of the building caught sight of the van and unloaded, reloaded, and are still firing as the van swoops past them.
How far away is Lucio from those two?
With celerity, with the speed that Hestia and Dizzy has, he could be there in an eye blink. With his speed, his uphill running, he can be there soon enough to make their lives miserable and to drop all semblance of obfuscate.
How about with soaring leap?
Oh, that would cut the distance. The speed of him reaching them almost in half. It'd take off roughly a third of the travel time. But again, with leaping into the air and appearing as if he was a falling comet and then making the second leap to get to them, he'd still lose his ability of invisibility.
I think right now Lucio would be overcome by a sense of urgency, so he's going to risk it. Soaring leap, and he's going to... I can't believe I'm going to say this. He's going to risk another rouse check for prowess and basically Superman punch the first one. Because his goal is basically to take them out so that he can rescue Hestia.
Okay. Well, we're going to need a strength and brawl with your DC being set at 4. Anything less than 4, you will not get there in time. And anything less than 4, you're going to miss them.
I have to rouse check for prowess, right?
Yes.
Oh boy. Alright. So I didn't get hungrier from prowess. I'm going to gamble a little bit more in blood surge. Can I do that?
Yes.
I somehow don't get hungrier.
You do not. The heavy foot of the beast in your mind does not grow hungrier nor apply any more pressure. It is clearly happy with what it sees. It is clearly happy and expecting what is preparing to happen.
I'm gonna use a willpower. I did it.
Pouring on all due speed, dropping obfuscate through dint of moving fast enough to attract attention. That attention is not a positive one, as the last few bullets fly from their submachine guns, and they, with military precision, drop the clip and slap another one in, turning to the motion and movement they caught off their left flank. They see the impossible. They feel as if they are back in time. Back during the release of the original Superman, you will believe a man can fly. And Lucio barrels out of the sky towards them with all enmity, rage, and a somehow boyishly charming smile loaded with teeth sharp enough to cut through diamonds. They're not sure whether this is some phantasmal after image of drugs they took back during high school or what, but the truth of the matter is there's no way a person can be that high in the air, or worse yet, land after being that high in the air and survive. Yet it's barreling towards them and they try to get a bead. You can tell that they're aiming from the hip, and they're not wrong. They have a good sight. They're gauging speed and distance, and before the trigger is pulled, Lucio connects. In the history of devastating attacks, one name rings true. One name has always been at the top of the leaderboard, and that name was Dizzy. Dizzy has been vicious and direct, and when the moments the beast urged her on, or her pride was injured, there was a grievous rack and ruin left in her wake. The attack with which Lucio kisses the first guard with is enough to clear the leaderboard. The high score has been erased. There is, in the moment of contact, a fear that tremulates up Lucio's arm like a shockwave, because there was one time in his existence where he hit someone as hard once, and this makes the second time. And unfortunately, his sight, his line of thought, isn't occluded nor clouded with the idea of his sister. His vision is clear. While he's contemplating and concentrating on moving fast enough to help Hestia, he is able to clearly see this for what it is. And it is the unseating of someone's mind from their body. The eye is a fairly solid mucus-like structure. It has several layers and mechanics involved, but for the most part, it is a jellied object. And it implodes from the force of the hit that cracks the skull open. The blood that splatters across his face and arm is an anointing, a bathing of violence. To be so kind as to roll 1/3 your humanity and your unspent willpower.
Am I including hunger in this or no?
No, it's not hunger. You don't play with hunger.
Oh wait, did I roll that correctly? Was it 1/3 of both of those, or just 1/3 of humanity?
1/3 of humanity and your unspent willpower.
So my unspent willpower is 7, and my humanity is 6, so 1/3 of that would be 2. So that would be 9 then, or would that be...
It's your unspent willpower plus 1/3 of your humanity.
Okay, alright, so I did put this correctly. I
How
worried
many
I might
willpower does Lucio have?
His total is 8, because he has 4 composure and 4 resolve.
Holy fucking hell.
And he hasn't spent much willpower lately. So he was topped off at the start of this.
Holy fucking hell. That's a good thing. It's a great thing. It's perfectly silky smooth. He has almost twice the average man's will, the average woman's will. He has almost 3 times the willpower of most politicians. And he manages to stave off the beast. The splatter of blood, gelatinous brain matter, and other viscera does not cause his beast to tear from his chest. It does cause a mild quivering of the stomach as the hunger sets in, along with his normal human-esque revulsion. This is not the first time that he's seen the inside of someone's skull cavity, sans brain, but it doesn't get any easier. And even less palatable, because this instance was not a designed attack to drop the person into hell. This was an attack to move as expediently and skillfully to remove a person by way of seeing them as a hurdle and obstacle to overcome. In the doing, his feet connecting with firmament, the guard dropping into a pile of meat to be cooled and broken down by nature. Lucio realizes that the other guard is turned towards him, has managed to squeeze the trigger. And as the bullets move towards him, and Lucio can see a small bit of his life flashing before his unlife, you're still going to roll your dexterity and athletics -2, unless of course you have celerity, or you can choose to attempt a counterattack at the exact same time.
I'm gonna choose the counterattack, because I know Lucio knows that he is not fast enough for that, but he is sure as hell strong enough for this, and he's also very hungry. So what will I be rolling for this?
Strength plus brawl.
Strength, brawl. I don't think I'm gonna risk another surge right now.
Oh, come on.
You know what? You've convinced me. Another blood surge. Let's go all in. Why not? Lady Luck is on Lucio's side tonight.
Oh. There's a movie. It's a great American classic it's a great American bit of cinema. It has been foundational to the very idea of what the apex of artistic pursuits could wreak. It is a defining moment in the social zeitgeist. It's I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's a small little independent movie. It's called Rocky II. At the end of that, Rocky and Apollo, they trade blows with such speed and skill that Rocky has developed that he's faster than Apollo, meaner than Mr. T. Well, this opponent in the movie, I forget his name at this particular moment, but they trade blows as a sign that Rocky has progressed to that next level. He's strong enough, fast enough that he is championship material. It's a moment that has stood the test of time and has been copied and redone and remixed and revitalized and seen from a different angle. It's always a sign as to how good both opponents are when the simultaneous attack connects at the exact same time with the exact same momentum, with the exact same understanding and exploiting the enemy's weakness. Lucio manages to live down that moment. Lucio manages to cover the 4.5 feet between where he is to where the other guard is and connect at the exact same time. As the bullets tear through his dead flesh and the pain that he has experienced far too many times, both in his living and unliving states of being. And again, it's a pain that, though familiar, never gets any easier because the sheer tissue damage of the bullets tearing through him is enough that most kindred would not survive. Most kindred, from the pain alone, would stop moving. And most kindred have survived those moments of taking bullets and dropping like the corpses that they are, because it usually stops the other person from firing on them. And usually, most folks don't really follow through with the coup de grace because, well, you gotta get up close and personal. And there's still splatter, and there's still the very queasiness that comes from ending a thing. And Lucio connects. Because this is still the same scene where Lucio has roused and initiated prowess and has become the definition of potential death for all things living. What is Lucio's strength?
His normal strength is 3. Or are you actually like for the literal dots right now?
Yes.
Okay, his normal strength is 3. He's used the blood surge as well for this, I believe. So now it's 5.
Mm-hmm. All right. Lucio's punch. There is no real easy way to explain what Lucio punch feels like, except for maybe if you were to go put on a flak jacket and take a solid slug from an automatic rifle. And that's what the guard feels as his fists connect. And as the bullets tear through, and Lucio is still standing. Not only standing, but moving as if the bullets were nothing more than mosquito bites. Lucio has to round down 4 superficial as the bullets have torn through bits and pieces and glanced past him. And mind you, this is a fully semi-automatic submachine gun. So it wasn't as if he was hit with just one bullet or a 3-round burst. It was a trata. And as the bullets tore through him, he continued moving through them as if he was walking through a light spray from a garden hose. So the guard who was hit with the force of 10,000 angry suns is unsure what to do with their lives at this moment. Because unlike kindred, being hit that hard is not something that they can shake off. The guard staggers back, the gun aims toward the ground. There's a real understanding that something serious has broken, that tissue has been ruptured, that the bruise already forming beneath their clothes, signifying internal bleeding, is no small thing. Lucio literally hit this person hard enough to put them into a permanent pause, potentially a permanent end to their life. And while he didn't shatter or crack open the orifices, there is enough internal issues at risk, that breathing causes significantly enough pain that it is very real likely the body will stop doing so.
All right, so 2 quick points of clarification. Number 1, is Lucio having the 4, or did he take 4 after having?
No, yeah, that's half the 4. It's superficial.
So 2 then.
Yes.
Okay. Second question. Did that punch draw any blood? Because Lucio is still at 4 hunger.
It did not draw any blood, but that's the scent of his own potato typically is enough to set most people on edge. In the moment, being as he concerned for and after someone and something else, the blood of the shattered human skull behind him and his sheer number of successes at that point is giving him a small reprieve. He needed 2, he got 6. And while it is not a critical, it is significantly high enough where his better angels are guiding him and the beast is waiting for the proper moment to pounce.
While the guard is stunned, Lucio's going to take the opportunity to slake some hunger. It'll be a quick bite, like just to slake 1 hunger, because he wants to get to Hestia as soon as possible, but he doesn't trust himself at his current state.
Okay. We still kind of go ahead and roll strength plus brawl. There's no way that he can. There's literally no way he can fail. Even if he scored a bestial failure, he would have still been successful. It's just how successful was he? Unfortunately, he will be able to take 1 quick bite, but it's not going to. It unfortunately is not the sinking in, the fangs, the pulling the body close, the holding them firm. It is literally slipping beneath the guard's guard, forcing the gun down, taking a chunk and moving past him as the body drops and blood spurts into the sky as the guard makes contact with the ground beneath them. It is a messy, disastrously offensive bite. And sucking the blood from the physical matter that he makes away with, spitting out the bits and pieces of the guard's shirt collar, and finally chewing the last bit of flesh like it's gum before spitting out the sugar absorbed. He continues moving forward. He continues moving towards the last place he saw the van careening, with Hestia's near lifeless form behind the driver's seat. And as Lucio moves forward, rushing to consider catching up with the van, knowing where there's only one thing in a semi-straight angle from this location, and that's the creek, the man-made pond behind the building. And as Lucio moves forward towards that location, unnoticed just yet by the chaos inside, we turn our gaze towards Hestia. Now, over Hestia's very long life, over Hestia's time on this earth, Hestia's being, there was and has always been a understanding of them being alone. Karen's death early on in their existence, a formative moment, and initially to their understanding, a failure of kindred society. Karen dying for the Chantry meant and left them so conflicted as to what it means to be a kindred that without beating a deceased course, more, had them not quite appreciating the fullness of what kindred society could be. The moment shared with kindred spirits, the moment shared in camaraderie with Simone, Joseph, and Lucio, and Dizzy, and hell, even Clyde. His dedication to defending those he cared about despite the odds, despite the risk, was and is technically admirable. Someone willing to go to the very ends of the earth to protect what they found valuable, to protect what they cherished. It's a rare thing. Most kindred use their connections, their allies, their retainers, resources, and associations solely to protect their own lives, solely to look out for the most important thing, themselves. Over Heshia's long life, having made connections as she has, and having generally always worked for what she saw as the betterment of kindred society, or more specifically, the world around her, it is a bit troubling as their life flashes before their eyes, as those happy moments are viewed from a different angle. A calming touch here to abate the danger, a kind word instead of a harsh one to change the person's trajectory, a insulating within the community instead of isolating outside of it. How things could have been different, how the world might have changed if but those few small decisions otherwise. And as the lights dance in front of her eyes, the sound of gunfire falling to nothing more than the whispered echoes of some past memory, Heshia's undead, unbeating heart skips. Because as the lights stop swirling and the images stop flying and sliding past her gaze, she's in the breakfast nook in the North Shore home that has been her sanctum sanctorum, which had been Karen's sanctum sanctorum. Karen is sitting across from her, a steaming cup of blood in front of her, seasoned and enchanted, melded so that it had the same mild spice of dandelion tea. Its mirror and twin sitting in front of Hestia. So you were asking about ley lines. What is it about the secret infrastructure of the world that has you questioning?
There's a brief moment in which Hestia knows that this isn't real, but since it feels real, they're gonna go with it and pick up the tea and take a sip. Looking at Karen, the world is such a large, mostly unexplored place, yet these lines connect, join things that normally wouldn't touch, make spaces and pockets of magic that where time makes no sense, and logic and physics are all but tossed out the window. You know, in my life I was a botanist. That's very scientific. Did you break a plant down into its base structures, it's almost always the same. Sun works the same for almost all living things, plants. It's science. But these ley lines, not science, or science-like but not. And it's so puzzling to me to try figure that out, to try to understand how they exist.
Why are you trying to see it differently than science? It very much is science, and it's a science of the spiritual.
Yeah, but it's magic.
And magic is science, and science is magic. Everything is bound by the same rules. The energy that exists in the flesh around who and what you are exists in the plants that you've examined the bulk of your life, exists in the books you've read, exists even in this. And she takes a sip of her cup. The scent of dandelions perfuming up around both you and her, mingled with the nice, sweet, coppery tang of the blood inside. Energy can't be destroyed. So if energy can't be destroyed, and the human soul is in fact energy that exists inside a corporeal form for a finite period, where do you think that energy goes?
Some would say it is taken to a higher plane where you see all your loved ones and then returned at a later time when you decide to come back. Some would say it's trapped in another dimension where we wander aimlessly, relenting and lamenting over choices made in our lives. Obviously, it's something that has died and was brought back to life. I don't believe any of that.
But it's all true. You are a living soul by every document, doctrine, basis for religion. You are a living soul. You don't have a living soul. You are a living soul. And that small understanding of that difference makes all the difference in the world. You being who and what you are, your body locked, your corporeal form locked into its current state, existing in a temporary state of stasis. When you cease to be and you experience your second true death, what becomes of that energy? Where do you go?
Nowhere. Vampires don't get a heaven or a hell.
Just because energy has come back doesn't mean that that's not the case. Just because what exists of our soul dwindles the longer we remain in stasis, just because the energy runs out of fission and stops producing the same amount of energy, it stops radiating that energy, starts being attracted to a negative or a positive plane, doesn't mean that it stops being a soul.
So you're saying the ley lines are actually vampire souls?
No, I'm saying it's the energy of all those bits of soul that refuse to move on, that are quantumly connected with every place that they have been, every place that matters to them. Why do you think the lines shift every few hundred years as the continents drift and the civilizations upon them change their location? Different paths of egress matter more, causing that buildup of energy to shift accordingly.
You know so much more about this than I could ever learn in a million lifetimes, I think.
But you have all the time that you need.
You can assume what little throne that I have. One day you'll understand that your position as regent isn't about wielding the power, but teaching those beneath you, beside you, so that they cause your rise. It is only together, even apart, that we are able to achieve any semblance of earned success. Only together. Every time you act alone, every time you act counter to your best decisions, every time you allow someone else to not act in accordance with what's best for everyone, there's a setback. There's a moment of doubt. There's fate interceding to make sure the worst possible outcome exists. It's just like opportunity.
But they're adults, Karen.
And
They're adults.
And what does that mean? What is an adult except for a child with no supervision?
So, all 4'8" of me is supposed to corral these people with
Yes.
their own ideas, their
Yes.
own.
Yes. Either corral them or move with them. There is no in between. There is no singularity that exists anywhere in the plant world nor the spiritual one. We are all in this together. And as long as we act counter to the very laws of nature, spirit, and every state of existence in between, we are doomed to run into the same walls, into the same failures, into the same failings. Look at me. I decided that Nikolai and the evil of the pyramid was too much for me to buy into. I had to leave. I had to find my own way. But when I acted against my own best judgment, I ceased being physical. When I chose to act alone, when I didn't involve you, when I didn't go along long enough to secure support, when I decided to mount a defense instead of fleeing like the others, in an attempt to protect my knowledge, to pass my knowledge down, to ensure that I had tomorrow so that I could apologize to you. What did fate do?
It made a way for us to talk. It made this possible, I guess.
Yes, but it denied me all those years of being with you, of helping you, of being there to enjoy and celebrate your success, to be there to counsel you against your failings and allowing them to be your reality. Try, fail. Your success, yes.
Karen, they're gonna take the shelter away.
Only if you let them.
We have so many enemies.
That's how you know you've been successful. You don't get enemies by being nobody. You don't get enemies that will risk not only their lives, but the lives of people that count on them and count to them without being successful. You don't make enemies if you're not a big shot. It just is what it is.
So why does it feel impossible?
As it's supposed to be. Nothing worth having comes without expending supernal efforts.
Before she realizes, there's liquid hitting her hands. And as she looks down, it's her own tears.
As the vitae-tinged tears roll down Hester's cheek, as her vision fills with a pinkish, watery blur. Karen moves from her side of the table and takes the moment to wrap herself around you. And you can feel her warmth fading. You can feel the blood that she's taken in settle in the center of her, slowly being churned by the engine that is the kindred state into Vitae. Here at home, you guys don't need to rouse, but you need to blush. But she usually does when you all are out and about town. She wraps herself around you, and the tears flow. Then her tears flow, and your shirt is going to be stained, but it's not the first or the last time. And as you try to blink away the tears, the cold, Vitae-tinged liquid, you realize that your whole body is cold. You realize that your eyes are not blinking, your arms aren't moving. And Lucy is sitting there across from you instead of Karen. And across from you, you realize is above you. You realize that the liquid in your eyes are the liquid from the man-made pond you were just in. The cold spreading across you is because your limbs won't move. Your inability to speak out are because you are comfortably discomfited by the fact that you are in fact in torpor. You have received enough damage to send you into that paralytic state where your kindred physiology has decided enough is enough is enough. It has literally pulled a fuck this shit, I'm out on you while you are still piloting it. People have nightmares about sleep paralysis, eyes open, body unmoving, the world happening around you. You can hear it. You can hear the gunfire. You can hear the water lapping. You can hear Lucio speaking to you, and you can see the night sky above your head, but there's nothing you can do to interact with it. And that is scary. Knowing that you are at the disposal of the world around you. And the only thing you can do is watch and listen. And speaking of watching and listening, it takes a certain bravery to risk it all. Gamblers have that bravery, though theirs isn't for any noble purpose. They don't have anything or anyone that they are applying that foolhardy risk determined nature of theirs except for their own glory, their own selfishness, their own experiences, the release of dopamine, the release of the 4 reward chemicals in the brain from risk, reward, success, and failure. All of those chemicals mingling together with a little bit of adrenaline so that you get that high. And it gets harder and harder to get that high, so gamblers tend to do more and more risky things. There's nothing high about this moment, Dizzy. There is nothing but lows. In the last 8 months, Vivi has been your only connection that has mattered so deeply, outside of your family, which you were reconnecting with, outside of the coterie who were willing to risk at your say-so. And so you rarely said so because they had their lives, and that rate of exchange just was a little too high for you. It would require getting far closer to them than you were comfortable with. It would require, and here's the part that you have not bothered to address. If you allowed the coterie to get closer to you, you would be replacing your crew. Alston, Gaz, Drea, all of your crew would be replaced by these open-hearted, big-shouldered ne'er-do-wells who would willingly rush headlong into the most tenuous situations. And in the doing, I'm keeping them at elbows distance because they somehow managed to slip past arm's distance. There was Vivi, your asset that you were working, who moved from asset to smoke buddy, from smoke buddy to breakfast buddy, from breakfast buddy to ghoul, from ghoul to... You can't bring yourself to say the words because there she is staring up at you. That lopsided smile of hers, those lips that have done nothing but speak their idea of truth. They held on to an ideal that if it mattered, you would risk everything for it. And in the end, in this moment, Dizzy is what mattered to them. On her word, Vivi took flight. The reward is a body that has been poisoned by lead, and as their life's blood leaks out beneath them, what is it that Dizzy is doing?
Dizzy will look down at her new best friend as she dies, whisper, "Hug your brother for me." And she'll lean right into the beast, and she's going to turn this place into a crater of a parking lot.
So as the 6 men who've unleashed hell in a wall of bullets in Dizzy's direction, systematically reload. It is that reload that is born of experience, reload that they can almost do without looking, but look just to verify that they are doing it the same way, the same speed as they have been trained to do so. The door across the lobby, just past the elevators there, where Hestia had appeared from, there are 2 more men who exit, having heard the maelstrom of bullets, and they're expecting to see carnage. Instead, they find Dizzy's platinum form leaning over Vivi's brunette one. I'm not sure what's being said, and they don't really care. They take aim. And the others, seeing that they've downed one of the targets, one of the thieves, begin barking orders. What they say, you're not entirely sure, because in the end, there's a red haze that falls over Dizzy as the bullets fly. What is it that Dizzy is attempting to do? How is she attempting to turn all that they are into nothingness?
She'll spend whatever blood she needs to turn on powers and augment her abilities, and she is planning on killing every single one of these guys.
No muss, no fuss, directly to the dust. Would you be 6, 7, 8? Okay, would you be so kind as to go ahead and let's roll Dizzy's highest strength, brawl plus potence.
The bullets tear. They bite like mosquitoes made of metal. The room is awash in a haze of smoke, and there's many submachine guns, but there's many guns being fired in this enclosed space. There's a loss of oxygen simply because of the amount of bullets fired. There is a gritting of teeth and a furrowing of brow because Dizzy refuses to drop. Dizzy refuses to stop. And as fate conspires to steal everything, as time works in concert with what is happening, time having decided which side of the line that they're on, the injuries pile up. the deaths pile up. It is a maelstrom of violence with one end in sight. The death of the monster or the death of the guards. Because in this moment, there is no rational thought except the end. There's no consideration for anything save the end. Many would foolhardily ask the end of what? But in this push, in this drive, the end means the end of everything. A ceasing of the pain of existence, a ceasing of the many slings and arrows that life flings at us, the overwhelming sadness that comes from realizing that it's all for naught. In the end, the only thing that matters is connection. How even immortal monsters from beyond the grave are able to make their lives mean something. It is in connection, it is in the relation of touch, whether physical, mental, or emotional. That connection is what gives valid balance to all that life throws at us. It's many downs, it's even more seldom ups. And the only connection that Dizzy wants in this moment is the connection of her fist and everything that she has with the soul of the men that took Vivi from her. Like all momentous moments, it is over far too quick. It is done. It is completed. The end having been reached. As the last person falls, Dizzy realizes that there's a point of no return. There's a point when the pain is too insurmountable, when the body won't move any further, when it's time to turn off the lights and let the darkness subsume you. Bloodied and broken and beaten. The last person that Dizzy had sights on held pulp-like in her hands, what they are reduced to the viscera of the matter that held their souls. And Dizzy closes her eyes for the last time. While outside, cold is always a risk for Kindred. Water in an October Illinois area is a death sentence for the living. For the dead is not that far removed from that very real fact. Hestia's body lies before you, riddled and beaten with shrapnel and bullets, her vitae visible in several of the wounds, almost frozen, looking very viscous and very much like jello. Her eyes open to the night sky, her glasses cracked and slightly askew on her face. What is it that Lucio is contemplating as the bullets inside the building, the gunfire has finally ceased?
So he successfully pulled Hestia out of the water, right?
Yes.
And she's not moving?
Not at all.
Okay, one thing at a time. He's going to open up a wound in his wrist and feed Hestia some of the blood. Which I'm assuming requires a rouse check, right?
It does. It doth indeed. And the beast likes you today. Now here's a question that has rarely come up with Lucio. What is his blood potency?
His blood potency is currently 2.
There is hope. And while it springs eternal, it is not always a good thing. In this particular case, as Lucio wills the blood to the surface, wills the beast to give him a taste of its strength, and he dribbles it into Hestia's mouth. There is a connection that he has never made in giving blood, and one his beast makes in this moment. There's a certain realization that he has never contemplated. Even giving blood, even giving vitae, is mentally arousing. It is every pleasure that he has experienced in his life come due now. Luckily, he hasn't had those drives or those impulses previously, but it's only in the balancing of his wish for Hestia to be once more ambulatory, and for him having this moment alone, watching as his vitae eases from his being into Hestia's forced open mouth. Every pleasure that he's had, is centered in and around blood. So for those kindred who have not given up the ways of the actual flesh, there is no greater moment. There's no greater moment of pleasure. All of the lesser pleasures combine into this. And he realizes why other kindred treat the sharing of blood as something far more intimate than anything potentially physical.
Which kind of makes the whole scene with Critias take on an even more new meaning for Lucio, but that's not important right now. What's important is saving Hestia. And then figuring out what happened to Dizzy and where she is.
And as Hestia blinks, and the beast asks for its turn, asks for a fair exchange, a little mental nudge. It is 42 after the hour. I'd like to thank you all for what we've experienced thus far, and I'll see you guys back here in roughly 10 minutes, let's say 52 after the hour. Thanks, guys.
See you in 10.
Yep.
Sorry for the tardiness. Everyone back?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So, coming back into the land of the ambulatory, looking up at Lucio. Lucio looking down into Hestia's small face. What is immediately on their mind in this moment, with the October sky billowing around them, with the sounds of gunfire having ceased, with the death and carnage that lays in the wake of all of their actions this evening?
Are you asking me or Lucio?
Both.
I'm glad she's safe. That's my first thought.
Hestia's first thought is, I almost died for real this time. And thank goodness Lucio is here. And right on the tail of that, we need to go where are the others, basically. Is what pops into her. She tries to set up as quick as she
Safe.
can.
Oh wait, did you say that out loud or is that just your thought?
Those are just her thoughts, but then she'd probably sit up really quickly and hard and kind of grab at his chest and go, where are the others?
Melinda's safe. She got out. But I don't know where Dizzy is. I thought she was following us, but when we got out, she wasn't there.
You need to check the building.
There was gunfire inside. I think she might still be in there. She might have stayed behind.
Hestia kind of struggles to her feet. We need to make sure.
Are you feeling well?
No. I was dead almost again. And that's the second van that's been lost this week.
Fuck the van.
Shit.
Are you going to be okay? Because we might be going into a firefight. And you literally almost just died.
What if I promise to stay outside?
I think that'd be for the best.
Promises are made to be broken. At the immediate instance of trying to assuage Lucio that there wouldn't be any more risk directly, the internal checks start happening. While yes, death is an ever-present with the kindred, and Hestia has been grievously wounded several times before, almost dying one of them before now. With the entirety of Hestia's health track being filled, minus the one with aggravated, with Hestia's hunger being 5, with them being so riddled with bullets and lead that they are more than 5% combinant metal. The beast is a reality. Their hunger is automatically 5. They are -2 to all of their die pools. And unlike previously where the injuries were as much mental as physical, these injuries are spurring the beast's normal whisper to sound as if the inside of Hestia's head is filled with a screamo band trying to work through a midlife crisis. The promise is given. She has every conscious intention of remaining outside. But the truth of the matter is, her eyes are already looking towards the fallen bodies just over 20 yards from where she stands, closer to the front of the building. Her eyes are already contemplating how much she can get from Lucio before he realizes that she's locked on to him like a tick. The beast is already whispering. The moment he turns his back, he won't be able to respond. Arms around the throat, arms around the chest, legs locking. You will be able to bite into that space just below the scapula, just below the shoulder blade, sinking fangs deep enough to draw that rich, thick vitae. And on it goes. The thoughts are already there. The slight pinkish haze to the world signifying that soon it will go completely red. There at the edges of Heshia's understanding.
Almost as if unconsciously they are not aware of what's going on. Her brain is saying one thing, her brain is telling Lucio one thing, but her body is already moving. It is celerity, fleetness, as quick as it can go, and she is face first into whatever body she hits first.
Even without the ability to tap into the powers of the blood, the strength therein, by rousing, there is a speed that should not be possible in a form as riddled as Heshia's has been. She moves past you, closing on the fallen guards, what's left of them, the pinkish gray mist of the head shattered open, the torn open chest, creating a sucking chest wound on the other. It is, well, it's the beast. You know its touch, but seeing it on another person and understanding now with your more mature, having survived a full year of hell, mind, there's something strangely, viscerally, it's like you should look away. But if you do, there's no telling if one of the guards from the building might exit and catch Hestia mid-drink. What is it that you're going to do, Lucia?
It takes a moment to, brief pause and just silently thank Hestia that she had enough control to not try and eat him, because he was closer. And he's going to start heading towards the building. Because as far as he knows, Dizzy needs help, because she didn't get out.
And that thought, foremost on his mind, the thought of needing help, it being a present tense, falls away the moment that he moves towards the glass doors. There are bodies scattered, or to be more accurate, bits and pieces of bodies. You've seen what happens when Dizzy has unleashed her beast. You've seen what became of Mama Walde. You've seen how quickly she dispatched Newberry. You've seen, and then you see Vivi's cooling form and the near pillar of salt that is the rotting husk of Dizzy. The platinum hair, the last thing to slowly begin drifting into dust. Based on the height of the pillar that was Dizzy, she was on her knees. The body in front of her, unfortunately not gifted with the ability to become nothingness, lies, pulped. The gun still pressed firmly against Dizzy's chest. The forensic evidence that immediately pops into Lucio's head. He's able to almost plot the course of the battle, starting from that doorway, across the counter, through that one to that one, sliding beneath, that one leaping through, that one landing here, and this one putting up as much of a fight as he possibly could with the Hellion that was clearly bearing down on him, and in a joint effort of will and supernal extension of a need to live with a need to die, they exsanguinated each other's existence, the energy of their lives becoming something else. The guard, his gun pressed firmly, Dizzy's hands, what's left of them, crushing out his eyes and pulling his head apart as one would a difficult walnut.
Lucio, like, seeing the scene, immediately lets out a loud "No!" and runs over to Dizzy. And he's in complete denial right now. He's gonna also try and pour some blood into her in like a desperate hope that it saves her. And he's basically like right now saying like, I'm not letting you die on me. Don't you fucking die on me. Not after all we've been through.
The moment he bites into his wrist, the motion of his hand swooping up to his mouth, his rush to her, causes the last bits of her platinum hair and the pillar of dust that she was to, from the force of his motion, to begin blowing away. All that's left within reach are the piles of dust that were her legs as she, on her knee, ended the last person there. Her torso and neck and body and head, all of that dust and is blown across the floor, settling closer and atop what was left of Vivi.
Is Vivi also?
Oh,
Is she gone too?
gone. Moving to Vivi's body, the coolness therein is palpable. As a ghoul, there was no way that a single exchange or a single barrage of bullets would have ended someone as skilled as Vivi had presented herself to be in the last few days, when the truth of who and what Vivi might have been in another life became apparent to everyone involved. That understanding that past and that reason for continued existing. And yet, their stories, their tales. And as always, fortune favors the brave is a statement that most people understand, or at least they think they do. But it really should be, luck provides for the daring. And there's a human corpse. And thanks to their ghoul status, would have easily hung on to life as long as they could. Far longer than they should in most cases. There is in you
the very spark and gift of unlife. In you, there is the potential and while it may be too late, there's only one way to find out for sure.
Would Lucio know how?
He is a detective and he has watched several things happen. There is a good chance that in the quiet moments of discussing what had befallen the shelter and understanding how certain things happened, why Simone had been staked, and how their illustrious friend, Prior Blue, came into being. Persipulus having had possessed a corpse, well, a dying person, and Simone having given them his blood, and, well, yes.
Oh my god. He's gonna do it.
Biting into the palm of your hand or into your wrist.
Wrist.
So you bite into your wrist, and the vitae begins to well up. And as she's in the door, covered with the blood and remnants of the guard that you drank dry, your hunger is effectively too. Lucio is over Vivi's body, his his wrist in his mouth. What is not apparent is any sign of Dizzy. What is not apparent in all the chaos and carnage is Dizzy, except for that pile of dust. There's nothing else here except for Death and Lucio with his wrist in his mouth. What is it that Hestia might do?
It's almost painfully clear what happened. They have no doubts in their mind that pile of dust belongs to Dizzy. And they will absorb that blow later and think about it later. And right now, she sees Lucio going for the wrist to the mouth and looks at him, and I know we've lost a lot tonight. Is this what she would want? Would she
Lucio
want
looks-
to be...
Lucio looks at Hestia, and there are tears, blood-soaked tears running down his face. I couldn't save Dizzy, but I can save her.
Okay. Do it quick, because they're probably going to have... There's no way nobody's coming to check on this. There's too much gunfire. We have to get out of here. I don't know how we're gonna get back to the Haven, but we have to get... The SUV. You're outside, and I'll change one of the tires. Let's go.
And
So
that was
Hestia's
the
gonna go.
end of the night for October 20th. That is how the shelter ended their night. That is what took up the remainder of the time from the onset of the Angel of Death until sunrise. A newly created kindred created outside of the city, so there were ways to potentially mitigate that if the information was brought to anyone else. Arriving back to the shelter, sneaking inside through the hidden entrance and laying low, the pain of their loss, along with their minor victories, along with the reality of having a newly created kindred in their midst, was how the shelter spent the week. Was how the shelter allowed Hestia time to heal. It was how they ciphered through the information they had managed to obtain. And it's Friday night. Vivi is somewhere across the city doing God knows what, because the only thing that she presented as far as information was there were things she needed to do, and she needed to do them alone. That statement's resounding with far more impact, far more weight than anything else, any of the many arguments, any of the many disagreements of philosophy and information being provided. That one statement, don't worry about it. Just something I gotta do. Sounding so very much like, and yes, it's too soon to say that name. It's too soon to address that. But as Lucio and Hestia said, there's a urgent text from the staff down in the shelter. Sebastian is on tonight. Amalia, having gone to the dinner. The others not on duty because the staffing is, well, still the staffing. The interviews are going well. People are moving towards their second and third interviews, but as far as bringing someone on, it's a little more difficult. The salary isn't exactly competitive, but no salary when working with the poor and indigent community is. All the same, the urgent text from Sebastian to Hestia and Lucio's phone is out of the ordinary. Sebastian is a fool, as only the young can be, attempting to shoulder the full responsibilities far and above, away, beyond their pay grade, and then so much more. So him reaching out for help is literally an SOS, let alone an urgent text, followed by another. There's a guy here, he looks scary. There's a guy here, he looks scary. Oh God, there's a guy here, he wants to talk to Hess.
Fuck's sake. I can't even heal in peace. I should have known. I text him back, I'm on my way.
Lucio.
Is he in the same room with Hestia at this moment?
Yep. Yes.
Are you sure that's for the best? You still have some, well, you might need some makeup to cover some of that.
You already know how to make a girl feel good about themselves. Fine, I'll go put some makeup on. But I have to. He's a staff member. I can't leave him to whatever wolves are at the door, so.
Can I come with you?
For Mac. Yes, please.
Okay.
And Hestia grabs their purse from the meeting room, takes out a compact, and legit pastes on as much like pancakey like makeup as they can and smooths it the best they can. to hide whatever it is they need to hide.
You all head downstairs into the shelter proper. Standing at the desk, at the main entrance desk, is a gentleman that looks as if he came straight out of central casting. He's tall, immaculately dressed, and looks as if he is made out of all the muscles that were left over after building Arnold Schwarzenegger in his youth. Ah, there you go. You, Green and Darcy.
That would be me, yes.
Excellent. You guys got something to do tonight?
We always do, but I suppose we might be able to make some time, depending on what it is you need us for.
I need you to take a trip with me. Meet some peoples. I promise I'll get you back before bedtime. Come on, let's go.
Do I recognize this person at all?
No.
My mother told me never to talk to strangers and much less take rides from them. You need to explain some things before we just go getting in the car with you.
We could talk in the car. My friends call me Sil. Basically a driver. I'm your super special Uber, you can say. Come on.
Alright. She looks at Lucio like, because she knows he normally has a gun. So she's gonna trust that he still has one.
Oh, always.
As he walks outside, there is an immaculately detailed, murdered out sedan. It is, for Lucio, in looking at it in the moment, it is like stepping back in time to the first moment he actually drove with Arsenio. The caddy. It is that well loved and cared for. Though this is a unfortunately far newer modeled car. It is a Lincoln of some sort. You're not sure exactly which model, but it's not quite a limo, but a little bit larger than your standard sedan. There are two seats inside in the back. There's row seating, of course. There are two rows, unlike the back of a normal car. Like the middle, where the driver sits is actually the back of the first row of seating. Both the seats are set to face each other so that there could be conversation or whatever else that people that drive such cars need. When you step into the car, he closes the car behind you all, and for force of habit, Lucio checks the door. It is in fact unlocked. And he moves around the car and gets in, and there's no partition between the front and the back, at least none that you can see. And he leans over the seat. So, I like easy listening. Is there something I can put on for you?
You know the Temptations?
I do. That's easy listening. You're a man far ahead of your time. Of course, I just recently found the Spinners. They're pretty good too. And well, anyway, I'll put them on. You tell me what you like. And sure enough, there are a clearly playlist of the Simps, Four Tops, the Spinners, the OJs, the Manhattans, and several other, at that time, men bands of the soul era, the Boogie Down Detroit era, when they were
chart toppers and hit makers, and it was a glorious time for synchronized crooning. The drive is a relatively short one, only just about 25, 27 minutes. You guys are clearly outside of your domain, but, and here's the part that sucks, you're not exactly all that far from Loyola. Most people don't realize that the Loyola area just south of it is a hodgepodge of those who have and those who do not. It is indistinguishable between those who are spending mommy and daddy's money to attend school here in the big city and those whose money goes back generations or so. You're escorted to one of the few high-rise towers just off the lake. These towers go back several generations. They're the first little luxury sky-high townhomes of their sort, what condominiums used to be. Full homes stacked atop one another, stretching back until the very idea of it became homogeneous with modularized modern living. Before then, they were homes. They were full estates stacked on top of each other. People would have 2 or 3 floors to signify 2 or 3 homes. But those things fell out of style. Everything became smaller and more compact. Condos and studios blurring the line until finally most people who own condominiums technically only have studio apartments with the condominium price tag. This building and its 3 neighbors are not so modern. It's the sort where the elevators are manned. The sort where there is a concierge desk for the tenants. The sort of place where the maintenance staff lives on premises in the guest quarters located on the 1st and 2nd floor. They tend the building round the clock. And for those of you with an occult above 2, you know that these buildings have been the site of many haunted tours throughout the city. There's the legend of Bathrobe Jack, the rich, moneyed 14th generation landowner who traded in his family's plantation in Alabama to live the rich high life here in Chicago. He partied himself to death and continued partying for 4 days after. When he finally sat down, after spending 4 days on his feet, dancing and drinking and drugging, he simply gave up the ghost. And while his body was interred in Graceland and his wealth was divvied up amongst his extended family, someone forgot to mention that to his spirit, his soul, as it has been inhabiting this building and these buildings since 1928. All the same, Syl parks the car so that the parking attendants can move it where it belongs, and moves around and opens your door. All right, guys, we're here. Come on. Someone needs to meet you.
Well, let's not keep them waiting.
So, no offense, but you look a little young to actually understand the temptations. I know I caught you singing along once or twice. How old is you?
About 34 now, I'd say.
Oh, okay. Still, you're a baby. And you're a good looker. You'd be a lot better without all that makeup.
Yeah, just like looks at Lucio with a brow raise and smirks. That's what I told him, but
everybody's got that type. Me, don't take this the wrong way, but I grew up when Wesley made that movie. You know what I mean?
You mean Blade?
You funny, huh? You don't really watch Spike Lee movies, huh? Anyway, come on. And you all head in, move past the concierge, which still waves to the elevator, which is large enough to be a freight elevator, but this is clearly the main elevator because the elevator attendant rings you up, guides you up to the near top floor of the building. As you all get to the 13th of this 14th story tower, Syl steps off, slips the man a 20, and you all move down the hall. Moving down the hall, you realize that the doors aren't really actually doors. They're all fake. They're just there for looks, which means that this floor is in fact one home. So, just for your record, just so you guys know, in case it's not said, I appreciate you all coming along so peacefully and nicely. Like I said, I'll make sure I get you back before the curfew. And then he knocks on the door and opens it for you all. After you. I'll be out here if you need anything.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, don't mention it. As you all enter, there's a certain level of comfort you are expecting. There's a certain level of classic decor that you are expecting. The idea immediately flies from your head as if it's knocked out by a taste to reality. There's nothing old, nothing overwrought, nothing Art Deco. It is all a modern aesthetic, mostly open floor plan between this floor and the one above it. There's a stairwell before you, and standing on it is Sophia. Would you be so kind as to describe yourself?
Well, you see a tall, painfully thin and pale woman dressed in a designer sort of gown made of some sort of satin or something kind of shiny. She sets down a wine glass, which is stained red but empty. Kind of gives you an unsettling sort of smile, which is more just the way she smiles than any sort of malice. She comes down the stairs and says, I trust Mr. Toscani was gentle with both of you.
Yes, he was.
It was a little weird, mind you, but okay.
I quite liked him. His taste in music is quite excellent.
I am quite fond of him as well. Anyhow, sit. Make yourself comfortable.
Well, thank you very much. I don't mean to jump the gun, but I would like to at least know the name of our hostess.
My name is Rossi, Sophia Rossi.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Sophia. My name is Lucio.
Yes, Mr. Darcy and Miss Green. I was to understand there was also a Miss Cross and a Miss Disick.
At the mention of Dizzy's last name, Hestia's face kind of closes down, and their jaw goes tight.
Miss Cross is occupied tonight, and Miss Disick is, passed on.
She kind of looks at you for a lingering moment as she processes that. And she says, I'm sorry for your loss. My condolences.
Yeah, life of a hound tends to be fairly short, I would think, but such as life or unlife.
At that point, she comes to sit on a couch opposite you guys. Kind of studies you both for a minute quietly. She finally speaks. Says, so I am to understand that we have a few things in common. Your Prince Jackson said it might be helpful for me to consult with you on some things in your daily work, as well as our common interest.
You mean to say he's told you to work with us?
Not so much.
Okay. Well, care to elaborate?
Well, I am forbidden to become, what do you call it, hounds?
Yes, that is what we are. Forbidden?
Yes, but I am certainly able to consult in any capacity necessary. Any execution of your duties I may not be able to participate in. It'd be a case-by-case basis.
Well, any knowledge you can provide is always helpful.
I know a great many things, and I'm very good at learning new ones. Also, I come to understand that you're having some sort of difficulty with a man by the name of, and then I don't remember the guy's name out of character, but Greasio.
Don Castiglione.
I understand you are having some difficulties with Don Castiglione.
The mention of the name, Lucio's face gets visibly sterner, and he responds, "Yes, we've been having many issues with him."
Well, I will wager to say that he is a difficult and unsavory sort of man. In this we have a common cause. To how much I am actually able to assist you, time will tell, but I am willing to try.
Assist us in what way?
He and I, as much as it pains me to say it, are related if you go back far enough. Though I do find his family and his methods a bit distasteful.
Are you saying you're family related, or you're of the same clan?
Well, I would certainly hope that my bloodline has not been tainted with his, but you never know. A lot of that going on. But yes, I am of the same clan as he.
I see. So you're going against the rest of your clan in this city. Am I to understand that?
I'm not sure that it's the rest of the clan, and there are higher powers.
And you work for these higher powers?
I may have some connection to them. I wouldn't say work for.
Let me see if I can piece this together then. You want to help us disrupt or even potentially unseat Don Castiglione and his operations.
Such a thing would not break my heart.
And what's your end game from this?
My end game? My end game is much different. I just find him distasteful.
I see. At this point, Lucio... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I would not interfere in the greater interests of my own family, you understand. But he has not done very well deriving this thing that he has begun. Perhaps someone would be better suited to run it. And no, I don't mean myself.
Lucio turns to Hestia at this point and is trying to see if she's like displaying any sort of like reactions to what's being said.
Hestia looks thoughtful and very quiet. That brain is going. The brain that allows them to pick up things quickly. They are studying this person within an inch of their life. Every nuance is being processed. Their head is slightly tilted. And yeah, they're very much paying attention. Looks at Lucio and then looks back at Sophia. You do understand what he wants from us. Even though you're saying that you don't really care about that part of it, you just find his methods distasteful, so you don't want what he's after, or you don't care that he gets what he's after, or that whole situation is happening. It's just kind of a fuck you moment.
The fuck you is probably worth it to me. However, I would be remiss if I was not saying that I did not have some curiosity in what you have. But as far as trying to take it from you, that is not my thing.
Well, that's new, because everybody else seems to want it. But I appreciate the fact that you don't. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like a reason enough for me to want to work with somebody if they don't like the Dawn, because obviously nobody on our side of things likes the Dawn. Not even their own family. So, but see, there's this other thing here. The Dawn is a problem, but they are not the only problem. The Dawn is also fighting with a Laura Blakeney that we also cannot touch because they are a big deal in Dalton. So where do you stand on that?
From a political standpoint, I have to remain neutral. I cannot get involved in any sort of sect war. I cannot aid you or even suggest that perhaps we do something final to Don Castiglione. But I can certainly consult. I can certainly learn what I can. And I have some resources available to me that you do not.
Well, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but we're not enemies, so it's even better then, right? Because the enemy of my... Whatever, you get what I'm saying.
She smirks slightly, nods. I fear I'm not currently well stocked, but can I offer anybody anything?
I certainly won't pass up the opportunity at the moment.
Sure, sounds good to me. Definitely would ease nerves, I think, a little bit.
Oh, definitely would. There's a certain paleness to Sophia that is unmistakable. It is the paleness of one who has roused, who has channeled the blood, but yet manages to hold the power of death. It's the paleness that is held by Lucio and his sister. It is the paleness that is held by the Don and his entire family. It is the paleness that Hestia has dealt with consistently every day since that moment 20 years ago when helping a particular someone slip from the city.
Okay, so I know you said there's a chance that you all are related. I'm looking at you all, or looking at you two next to each other, and even though you have like dark hair, Lucio, and it's your dad's hair,
Way to let the cat out of the bag.
she knows who we are. I'm pretty sure she knows all of that too.
Did you know?
She just kind of smiles.
See, told you. Anyway, I see features that are similar. I really do think, whether it's good or bad, that there are some members of the family that are the same. He did say that he was looking to his family for members of this clan. And that was why he originally made plans.
Sophia, the idea that someone outside of the family, the larger family, and more specifically someone outside of the family, i.e. all of the 6 deviant lines of the Giovanni branch, is akin to someone being able to recite a page from your diary. That is not public knowledge.
You are familiar with the Giovanni, then?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Many things have changed. We are no longer known as the Giovanni, as I'm sure you've heard. And this is a reflection of the changes that have taken place in the clan and the outlook. our entire focus, like a rebranding, if you will.
I thought you were called the Cappadocians.
That would be an older branch. I believe the Giovanni mostly subsumed them, though they have returned.
And what are you called now?
We are known as the Hakata.
So you say you have different branches within this Hakata, correct?
More or less, yes. They're different families, and then there were some rogue bloodlines that we've also absorbed that we used to view us unfavorably, but the hatchet has been buried. Scores have been settled for the most part. It's very political. I don't want to go into it too much.
Which branch do you belong to?
I come from an old line from Venice, the Rossellini family.
And do you know or have any connection with Putinesca?
No, I try to have as little contact with them as possible. Were it not for the political situation, I would have no contact with them at all.
Well, that seems good enough for me to trust her. What about you, Hess?
Tell them about the God Machine.
Wait.
And the door slams.
Shit. Wait.
What's going
That
on?
was. Oh, you have an angry spirit, don't you? Okay.
Actually, were it just such a thing, I would have taken care of it. But it's a thing that happens. Just ignore it.
Hestia knows she's probably going to fucking regret it. But curiosity didn't kill the cat. So she is going to slip into sense the unseen.
So, Lucio, having watched it happen with Hestia several times before, you are immediately aware as to what it is that she is doing. Sophia, you have not had the pleasure of watching a different aspect of seeing the world. This aspect of seeing the world, you watch as the color fades from Hestia's eyes, as her already dead pupils seem to fix on a point neither here nor there, just past the midpoint of everything her eyes gazed upon. In the doing, as this deathly pall falls over her eyes, there is a small iridescent glow at the back of them, as if there is some spiritual animalism going on. And in that moment, Hestia, as you step into seeing the world not only as it is, but also as it was and as it could be, would you be so kind as to roll your wits plus occult?
And while this is going on, having summoned Silvio to do all my things for me, he probably would return with 2 wine glasses full of warmed up blood from blood bags.
He comes in, a smirk on his face. Uneasy, lowers his voice. Don't mind me for speaking out of turn in front of your guests. They can't hear me, but, that jackass, he made off with the bellman's keys, so the elevator is stuck again. And he leans back up and sits the glasses in front of everyone, toss an imaginary cap, and makes his way back out of sight. You know what he means when he says that jackass, he's speaking about Bathrobe Bob.
She nods at him and pats his hand.
There's a scene, Hestia, in the last rendition of The Great Gatsby, and in the previous rendition, called G, where the party is in full swing, and it parts just enough for our point of view character, for the reporter, to see Gatsby there at the railing by himself. This debauchery, this debacle is what you open your eyes to. All around you are several milling, partially here, partially not, spirits trapped between this world and the next, having manifested and are in the midst of partying. There are highball glasses in most of their hands. Some of them are holding Ricky glasses. Some of them have cordials, and they have all manner of dress from the late 1916s all the way to the 1950s. So you see the boxy suits, the Nehru collared jackets, you see the smoking jackets, which became all the rage, and you see dresses from every epoch of high fashion you can imagine. There are the short bobs, the long silky weaves that were blown out and caused women to go bald soon. There were the perms that had their hair straightened to their waist. It's a mishmash of every person who died from excess in this building.
She's like, holy crap. I'm just kind of looking around and waiting to see who notices her first.
Does Sophia notice this because it's something she can do as well?
Yeah, there's no doubt that Sophia knows what's going on. When Bob manifests in such a visceral manner as to actually start interacting with the world, it is as if he and his former home, becomes a beacon, and the souls of the recently departed, and by recent, any time within the last 4 decades, start to manifest. You know that his parties usually last until dawn, and as the party grows in intensity and the souls of those who have died from debauching themselves increase to the point where you can feel them against your skin, Bob draws strength and energy. His manifestations becoming louder and more direct, usually somewhere around the point where he's already stolen the key and replaced them and having them floating across the room, to the point where he begins ringing the doorbell, which is annoying at best, grating at worst, to running up and down the stairs loud enough for you to hear him and feel his footfalls as he passes you on the stair leading up to the upper floor, to him actually writing his name in phantasmal urine on the windows where you can see. The last time he manifested so heavily, you were entertaining some of the older members of the clan, those who reminded you of the agreement, while giving their blessing for you to be here. Your war is your war. The crimes Castiglione has done to the Rossellini are yours to inflict. However, you still must honor the agreement and not violate the contract. And you can't give Jackson a reason to violate it either. The God Machine can't fall into the Castiglione hands, because not only will they usurp authority from the Puttanesca, but from the entirety of us as well.
And Bob nearly pushed over one of the elders, one of the Capuchin's hand-selected directors of the family in this region.
He is mostly an annoyance. It's fascinating, isn't it? I will solve it one night. It just takes some time.
It's just like still gobsmacked, but I think what would happen is if they're kind of aware of the world around them, but then not when they're in this state of being. So if they felt drawn towards a specific thing, she probably would have gotten up out of her seat and started walking towards the thing, even though it's not here in the present time. It would be there in the past or in this in-between, so that's what they would be drawn to.
Sasha gets up off of the statue next to you, Lucio. What do you do?
So Lucio hasn't activated his Oblivion sight, so he doesn't see what's going on. He's feeling very peckish right now, so he's going to try and sample that blood that was presented to him, see if he can divine some sort of flavor or resonance from it.
Oh, that is not a very good vintage. It is palatable. When having gone from everyday Franzia to Louis XVI, you unfortunately accidentally developed a bit of a blood snob. This doesn't hold the power or taste of kindred vitae. This doesn't hold the unerring essence of sublimeness that comes from feeding on someone fearing for their lives. It doesn't have the heavy, robust undertones of someone in the middle of raging. It doesn't have the subtle sweetness of love's first bloom, someone madly, deeply in love with someone for the first time. And yeah, in short, Lucio has accidentally become the IPA guy at every bar circa 2016.
I am sorry, it's not very fresh. We make do with what we can. We are new to town.
I understand. At some point down the line, allow me to treat you to something more special. Well, provided our relationship remains amicable at that point. And Lucio will take a swig of the blood despite its subpar quality.
You taste that lovely, just fresh enough that it's not fractionated. You can tell that this is a very fine Pilsner, but you kind of got into hops, and you know the difference between your barleys, and well, a Pilsner is just a Pilsner. It's drinkable, it's fine, but you really could do with a nice Belgian, or God forbid, a nice juicy, hoppy IPA, or a standard, hell, even you go with a nice standard stout at this point. But this is good, it's drinkable, it's everyday. And while that's happening, actually you find yourself standing next to what you believe is a child. From the back, its height and its thinness as it stands looking out at the lake. You move closer, and then it turns around, and it is not a child. It is a small person, a little person who looks at you with its eyes the size of saucers, the bloodshot threads of the veins in its eyes, the bulging,
rotted, the nourishing of teeth signifying that when they died, it was clearly as happy and angry and excited as they had ever been. And it reaches out towards you. When it reaches towards you, it's suddenly closer. It's literally right upon you. You blink again and it's closer within that conversational distance, half the distance again traveled. Every time you blink, it gets closer. And you know that if you blink again, it will be where you are standing. It opens his mouth and saliva strings connect with the bottom portion. And unfortunately, most spirits don't speak. Only those with significant power have the ability to actually make their opinions known. It's clear that this person died in such a state that all that it consciously was not present at that moment. There was a sundering between the two. An ending of what it was. Even though the will to cling on to life, to fight for existence. And as that thought settles across everyone, the fight for existence, the joining of forces, the potentiality of new allies, if not new friends, and the mourning of what has come before, the moments of victory, the agony of defeat, the fact that the coterie now has a newborn kindred loose in the city, willing to go their own way, thankful for their existence, but angry. How much to actually share with them? How much would it take to help them cling to life instead of look for a grand crusade or finish the task left for them? And with the view of the lake lapping angrily in the distance, with the souls of the departed engaged in social warfare amongst themselves, and still cleaning up the small spill in the kitchen, we close out on our episode. I want to thank you for your time, and I'll see you guys next episode. Good night, everybody.
Thanks all.
Good night, everyone. I did not go into this expecting